Rev up your engines!
Well, it looks like Honda may be ready to stun the world with an all-electric S2000. The S2000s were a great little sports car. They never sold all that many of them, but they were super fast. They weren't even turbocharged, but they went like stink. People love them. They're collector's items. Now, it looks like they're going to make an electric version. Check it out. It's pretty cool looking. Now, they also say that at some point in time, the Civic Type R, they're going to make electric. They're making them super fast, right? But it'd be cool. I have to say, if they did make an electric S2000, that would be one car I'd think about buying. They are cool. They were fun to drive. If they kept the original configuration of handling and how they look, it'd be a really cool little car to drive around in. There's no doubt in that. If they electrified it, it would be super fast. Well, a European guy had a Tesla Model S with a lot of miles. He took it apart and he found everything that was wrong. So let's delve into some of it. One of the main issues is the coolant seal on the rotor for the electric motor wears out, water gets in and destroys the electric motor. As he said, guy's pretty mechanically inclined, all you need to do is put a seal that has 3 lips instead of 1. All those seals would have to go. It would last much longer. Now, Tesla used one with only a single lip in their remanufactured motors. All their remanufactured motors, and you know why? Because they want to save money. It's a cheap company. They're building them cheap. You pay a lot of money, but imagine you get a remanufactured motor and eventually it's going to leak coolant and ruin the motor just because the seal isn't correct. Now, this guy, Bessinger in Europe, said he saw Teslas with these drive units that were remanufactured drive units in Tesla, right? They had coolant issues after 2,000 miles. They started leaking coolant. Another guy called the EV Clinic said the seals that he's seen were destroyed after 50,000 kilometers, which is like 31,000 miles. And here's the interesting thing. By replacing the 3-lip seal with a component that only has 1, Tesla intentionally shortened the lifespan of its remanufactured motors. The original ones came with 3 seals in them, and the rebuilt ones that they did only had 1. They're deliberately making them planned obsolescence so they'd fall apart. Are they idiots at Tesla? Do they think there aren't mechanics like me out there that are going to take the stupid things apart and say, hey, look, they rebuild them really crappy. These remanufactured motors are so bad, they're just doing the 1-lip seal because it's cheaper. This one guy in Germany, Tesla replaced 12 of the motors under warranty. He bought the remanufactured motors that kept breaking. They had to replace it. Now, that was just $90,000 in motors, not including the labor, right? And that's more than the car cost in 2014 when he bought it. The interesting thing is that this von Gemmingen guy had all this taken apart. Hey, he put a lot of miles on it, right? So he found the fault before anybody else did. Generally, it would take longer period of time because the people don't drive as much. He drove a lot. So they had to keep replacing the stuff because he found the failure. They thought, we'll put this 1 seal and it'll be cheaper, and then when it breaks later, we'll make more money. Well, he caught them out at their own deal, being sleazy, rebuilding their engines incorrectly with a 1-lip seal instead of the 3 that it originally had. It was built right in the first place, but then the rebuilt ones were garbage. They pull so much crap, make your head spin. Gabo Cavia says, my mechanic said I have a blown cylinder number 2. He put in Marvel Mystery Oil. Now I can't really tell the difference. There's another way to fix a cylinder without rebuilding it. It's a 2007 Nissan Sentra. Yeah, there's another way. It's called sell the car and get something else. If it runs okay now, take it to CarMax or someplace, trade it in, get another car. You're going to have to rebuild that engine, right? The oil helps seal it, but eventually it won't. Those are terrible engines. Nissan Sentras were pieces of garbage. Renault took over the company and drove Nissan into the ground. They used to make good cars. 99, 2000, they were great, but they started making cheaper and cheaper. Get rid of that thing now while you can, because an engine costs a fortune, and most people don't know how to correctly rebuild them anymore. And if you pay some guy thousands to rebuild it, you'll probably find in a year or 2, it will break yet again. Get rid of it. Edwig 97 says, should I buy an 04 Lincoln Town Car? I'm looking for a good daily driver. Found a 2004 Town Car, 114,000 miles for $7,700. If a mechanic says it okay, could I buy it? I got an 07 F-150 with 170. I want something more comfortable and smooth. Thanks. Yeah, you're going to be a gas hog with that truck, but of course the truck is 3 years newer than the car. The problem is, now you say if your mechanic says it's okay, should I buy it? Yeah, if he's a good mechanic and he explains everything to him, but understand, okay, it's an 04, right? That is a 20-year-old car. Now, those things can last, and 114,000 miles is nothing on those. The rubber seals on the engine, the transmission, the brakes, everything that's rubber is going to be rotten and cracked. Eventually, it's going to leak. And you might think, oh, it's just a seal. Well, I might have to pull the transmission off to change the front main seal of the transmission or the rear main seal. $1,000 job. So, have the guy check it over with a fine-tooth comb, and if he says it's really good, I'd offer him less than $7,700. It's a 20-year-old car, for Christ's sake. That is is an old car. You don't overpay for a car that's that old. Says, what are the most reliable large SUVs? Okay, in terms of true reliability, Toyota and Honda, they make the best ones. There's no arguing that, right? They're not cheap, but they're going to last the longest. Stay away from the American ones. They got all these bells and whistles, but they cost a fortune, and they're generally tremendous gas hogs. I met a guy the other day. He bought one of those brand new Jeeps. It was $114,000 for this fancy SUV Jeep, right? It got horrendous gas mileage. And it was just a big Jeep, right? I can't understand why people buy those things. It's going to fall apart when it gets older. But if you're talking about a Toyota Sequoia, any of the Acuras, Lexuses, big Hondas, they're excellent. They're well made. And they'll outlast them. You're best to go to that. Because unfortunately, the American stuff, the quality is garbage. They put all this electronic hoopla so, wipes your butt while you're driving down the road. But then when it gets to be 5, 6, 7 years old, it all starts to break down. And the Japanese stuff does not. Landero says, my transmission jumps in between gears. I recently bought a 2011 Chevy Malibu from a small dealership with 150,000 miles. Transmission jumps from going to third to fourth gear. His mechanic said he didn't notice anything about it. What should I do? You bought it from a dealership, right? Most states have a law for pre-existing conditions, right? You bought it and it's doing it immediately. I'd never buy the stupid thing. I'd take it there and say, you got something else I can get? This is a piece of crap. And a Chevy Malibu with 150,000 miles, believe you me, is going to turn into an endless money pit pretty soon. But at least have him fix it. He has to fix it free because it's a pre-existing condition. He has to fix it free or give you your money back. If I were you, I'd try to talk him to give your money back. Get something else. Maybe he's got a Toyota or Honda on the lot. Maybe you'll have to pay more for that, but you'll be better off because your transmission's starting to go out. I have hardly ever seen a modern Malibu go even 150,000 miles before the tranny went out. And yours is obviously going out. When it jumps from third to fourth gear, that means the inside transmission's starting to go out. And you don't want to mess with that. There are laws. Check the laws in your state, and most of them have a pre-existing condition for 30 days. And that, you bought it, it had that condition, he's a dealer. That's the one thing. If you buy it from a dealer, you got a warranty. You buy it from a private individual, technically the same thing follows, but all they have to say is, I'm not a mechanic, I don't know that. But they're a car dealership, and they're supposed to know what they sold you. So take it back, and if you can trade it in on something else there, do it now. Romeo Swan says, Scotty, what do you think of an 06 Lexus IS250? I found a used one in good condition besides the reverse gear. I need to put some pressure on the pedal to reverse it. Don't touch it. Yeah, if you got to rev it up high to go backwards, the tranny's going out. That costs a fortune on those things. They're good vehicles if they're taken care of. I had a guy buy a used one here, and he didn't get a good one. He bought it in Nashville, brought it to me, got it at a dealer with an as-is, no guarantee. I pulled out the spark plugs. They were all coated with burnt oil, meaning the engine was an oil burner. It wasn't the car's fault. The previous owners obviously did not change the oil often enough, right? But in that case, you got to give it pressure to back up. Don't even think about buying it. The transmission's going out, and that probably means the original owner didn't take care of it all, never changed the fluid filter, didn't take care of it. Don't buy it. Zeus Soup says, my new Serpentine Belt squeals when it's humid outside of my '08 Lexus GS350 with 120,000 miles. All right, well, did you buy a good belt? Here's the thing. There's many companies that make belts. A lot of them are made in China and they're crap. If the belt is made too big, it'll fit on, but it'll squeal even though it's new because it's not tight enough, right? Make sure you use a quality belt like a Goodyear or whatever, a quality brand, Bando or Japanese, Denso, whatever. You want a good quality belt. But if it is a good quality belt, then you need a new tensioner. The automatic tensioner of the tensioner isn't making tight enough. But don't buy that tensioner. That's an expensive part without thinking, gee, maybe I got a crappy belt. Get a quality name brand belt. But if it still does it then, time for a new tensioner. Zeke Allray says, Buick 3.8 V6, even turbocharged, is as bulletproof as described. They are a pretty bulletproof engine, right? Turbocharging is going to wear any engine out somewhat faster. I mean, they had some of those Buick engines that were supercharged. They had a supercharger, right? And the funny thing with that was, the engines seemed to last forever, but the superchargers wore out. Because GM, whoever they were buying the superchargers from, they don't build themselves, they bought them from some other company. Over time, the superchargers would break out, and they cost a small fortune. But the engines themselves, they're pretty bulletproof engines. You change the oil and filter every 5,000 miles. I think things go 300,000 to 400,000 miles if you take care of them. Now, with the turbocharger, I doubt if it's going to last that long. It'll wear it out faster, but they are pretty good engines. And McFadden says, Scotty, any thoughts on Chevy Express vans? Yeah, I think they stink. I work on them, right? One of the worst vans ever made. They fall apart. I had one behind me the other day. I'm like, boy, that thing looks old. I'm like, wait a second, it's got new headlights. And I look, and it was a relatively new vehicle, but all the paint had come off, and it all peeled off, and instead of white, which many of them are, it was now rusty metal and white dots here and there. It looked like a pile of crap. I would not buy a Chevy Express van for many reasons, mainly because I work on them, and I see all the problems they have from the customers of mine that have them when I have to fix them. I learned the smart way from other people's mistakes. You can too. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.